I'm saying? To follow it on his own. No, he always put in their midst. When the prophets came with the book, then they were in the middle of the people, in the midst of the people, living amongst the people, exemplifying, you know, the message that Allah wants to reveal. You see what I'm saying? Okay? Showing them the way, showing them how. Okay? So all of that is important, all right? So again, they're a role model for us. And when we study them, we see, alhamdulillah, them being, even though they're prophets of Allah, and they're special and unique people, in that they were the most pious amongst us, or amongst the people, whenever Allah would choose the best. People with human beings, but they don't have no major flaws, no major issues in terms of integrity, their character, the behavior. They were the best amongst human beings, you see? And because again, Allah will give you role models that you would trust and you would have confidence in. They didn't steal. They wasn't guilty of crimes, you see? And so that's important in terms of a leader and a role model, someone that, has good character and good conduct and good behavior, you see what I'm saying? So again, we learn from them. They're our leaders. Those are the people that we follow, okay? And so alhamdulillah, this is some of the wisdom, of studying the prophets and whatnot. And we'll see when we study them and how, as human beings, they had problems in their lives, like we would have problems in our lives. Issues of not having money or resources, to feed themselves. And so they had to struggle like everyone else. Some of them were poor, Some of them were, I guess, in the middle. Some were rich, like Sulaiman and Dawood. The prophet Sulaiman, had a kingdom. And no one had like him before. He said, he was powerful and rich. And so in his example, we're able to see how a wealthy king prophet, alhamdulillah, kept a connection with Allah. He wasn't corrupt, as some of the biblical scriptures mention. No, he was, alhamdulillah, just straight up. Okay. So again, their lives are lives of human beings as well. You see. So they made minor mistakes and minor errors. Nothing major, but they made those mistakes. But of course, when they made those mistakes, alhamdulillah, they turned to Allah immediately. And Allah forgave them. You see what I'm saying? And which is a lesson for us when we make mistakes. We'll make mistakes and whatnot. So when we make mistakes, we should straighten up. We should, recollect and remember Allah. Like the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that he used to seek the forgiveness of Allah 100 times a day. In another narration, he mentioned 70 times a day, which means a lot. He did that a lot, all right? Always seeking forgiveness of Allah. And of course, he wasn't seeking forgiveness of Allah for any major sin that we would know of. No, just things where he would just forget. At moments where he would, be negligent, in his own mind. I neglected to remember Allah. I neglected to say this dua. You know what I'm saying? That he would chastise himself. He'd take into account for it, and so he was astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. I seek the forgiveness of Allah and turn to Him for things like that, of forgetfulness and things of that nature. Okay, so nothing major though. Okay, so again, the prophets, the wisdom and the benefit of studying the life of the prophet, we can see they had family issue problems, and when we studied them, they had, many of them, most of them had wives, they were married, most of them had children, you see what I'm saying, grandchildren. So so there's an interaction in some of their stories. Some of the story doesn't mention some of those, their family life, but some narrations do. And the ones that do, they give us, as we read it and whatnot, examples, alhamdulillah, how to carry ourselves, how to relate to our mothers, and how to relate to our fathers, how to relate to our children, so forth and so on, okay? How to relate when we lose them, if Allah take their soul, or whatever the case may be. How to relate, if a righteous, how a prophet was married to a woman and she wasn't righteous, she wasn't, so Allah give us examples like that. You see, Allah give us an example of a wife whose husband is a kafir. How she did, Asiya, Pharaoh. So all these are examples for us, all right? They were human beings, and they dealt with life's many situations. All right? So this way we don't get bent out of shape, like, wow, this is an example that's impossible to follow. No, it's not even like that at all. Okay? And so, alhamdulillah, so these are some of the things that I wanted to, just to kind of remind us. All right? So, because sometimes when we read these stories, we go into it, alhamdulillah, you know, I don't want us to lose sight of it. Why are we studying this? Why are we, you know, I don't know. And the idea is to constantly remind you of the importance of this, you know. Today, we live in a world today where there's so much confusion. Right? So much confusion, so much godlessness. Really, godlessness. And evil and injustices and whatnot. You know, bad leadership, confused leadership, all over. You see? And so we have the Quran. We have the Book of Allah. We have the example of the prophets of Allah. They're the leaders. They're the leaders that we're supposed to follow. Not all these other people, even the presidents and the governors and, oh man, no. We have to always go back to this. And even how they dealt, you know, during their time in their society with all of the corruption that was going on. You see? So even when they stood up for justice, they stood up for justice as a jama'ah, as a community of righteous people. People saw them as being righteous and good. You know what I'm saying? They didn't see them as a people that just mixed and mingled with everybody and all their foolishness and ignorance. We can't do that. So it's a lesson for us. As we mentioned Friday in the Jumu'ah, you know, to be integrated and coexist with people. Okay, we learn great lessons from the prophets of Allah. You know, to coexist with a fellow human being, right? And to be integrated. None of the prophets, you know, in their story, they're isolated from the people. They wasn't in caves, you know. The people so corrupt, people so messed up, I'm out of here, I'm going to the cave. They didn't do that. They stayed in the midst, you know, to ensure justice, to enjoin good, to forbid wrong, to call people, to remind people of the Creator. He did until it got so bad that Allah would tell, leave, like the people of Lut, right? Get up out of here. These people, they ain't going to change. The people of No, you know, subhanAllah, enough is enough. Leave, build a boat, get up out of here, okay? So we have a lot of lessons in all of that, man, all right? So that we don't lose our way. Yeah? This is why, again, we mentioned, integration, coexisting, but keeping your identity. People knowing who you are. You become the example. You become the model. And what? You don't give it up and say, oh, let me just hang out with everybody else and do what everybody's doing. We can't do that. There always has to be a rightly guided people. And those are the people of faith, the people of Iman. And that's you. The bottom line. Allah says, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. So you are the best nation for mankind because you enjoy good and you forbid evil. So you represent something. You know, you don't represent what others represent. You see, because your connection with Allah. You know what I'm saying? In your way, in your agenda is much superior. You see? Because it's divinely guided. It's based on principles and goodness and righteousness, man. You know what I'm saying? And justice, you see? But where you see injustices, alhamdulillah, you have to stand up and be vocal, be clear, and give people guidance. Right? And so we're going to learn a lot of that, inshallah, even like as we get into the story of Yusuf. It's a beautiful story, okay? So alhamdulillah, that's some of the wisdom, the reasons, you know, as a reminder, alhamdulillah. And of course, in every story that we relate, or that we study and we go over, there's so many lessons. And I have a little book about one of the great scholars, and he has about 50-some lessons. I was going through this, and I said, man. So we'll cover some of it at the end of the story of Yusuf. Just the story of Yusuf alone, he had about close to 50 lessons or 50 benefits from the story of Yusuf. And after I got through about 20 of them, I said, God, I went ahead of myself. I fast forward the pages, and it was up close to 50 benefits. I said, man, I was in the 20s. I said, let me close it. You know what I'm saying? But we'll talk about, those benefits, at the end, inshallah. Next session. Okay? Hopefully I can finish Yusuf in 2 sessions. All right. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, and we granted Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, each of them we guided, and previously we guided Noah, and among his descendants, Dawood, and Suleiman, and Ayub, and Yusuf, and Musa, and Harun, and thus do we reward the doers of good. Okay? So this is just one of the many ayats that Allah mentions in the Quran. And this ayat includes, Yusuf by name. So we now come to a story which is unique among the stories of the prophets in the Quran. The story of Yusuf, okay? The story of Yusuf alayhi salam, the son of Yaqub. What's Yaqub's other name? You remember? What's Yaqub's other name?
Jacob.
Huh? No, Yaqub. No. I'm talking about his other.
Israel.
Okay? He's the father of the Bani Israelite. Okay? Now, so I don't want you to forget these. You always keep that connection. All right? So Yaqub, the grandson of Ishaq, and the great-grandson of Ibrahim, okay? Yusuf, okay? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower his blessing on all of them. Okay? Its uniqueness, or the uniqueness of the story of Yusuf lies in the fact that it is the only story in its entirety in a single surah of the Quran. Other prophets are, pieces here, some pieces there, some pieces there. You got to put it all together to make a narration sometime, a story. But the prophet Yusuf, his whole story is told in one surah. It's beautiful. Surah number, I think it's number 12. Yeah, the 12th surah of the Quran, Surah Yusuf. Okay? It is in this story that the noble personality of Yaqub, even, Yaqub also comes alive. We get a little more insight in terms of Yaqub, all right, who he was, because we only mentioned him in passing last session, okay, and so even in this surah it brings out more of who he was and what kind of person he was, okay, alhamdulillah. So really, you can say this surah, it covers, it covers Yusuf and Yaqub, okay, together. But remember, Yaqub is Yusuf's father. It's like Ibrahim was Ismail's father. So, father and son prophets, right? Alhamdulillah. However, it is difficult to correctly understand the story of Yaqub and Yusuf without some understanding of the background, some background material. Ibn Kathir, our great scholar of commenting on the Quran and other sciences, he reports that people of the scripture, that is the Jews and the Christians, they say that when Ishaq, Isaac, was 40 years old during the lifetime of his father Ibrahim, okay, he married Rebekah. Okay, there's a little background now. Rebekah, that was the name of his wife, the daughter of Bethuel, when no children were born to her. So they're up there in age and they didn't have no children. Ishaq prayed to his Lord and she bore twin sons. Okay? So Ishaq's wife, Rebekah, probably in their 40s, right? Had 2 sons. from her. And their names were Esau, all right? Or Esau, not Esau. Esau is the prophet Esau. It's Esau, okay? It's spelled E-S-A-U, Esau. And one son, and the other son, Yaqub, okay? Like his father and grandfather before him, Yaqub and his family lived in Palestine, Hebron, a city in Palestine. They were Bedouin people, herders of sheep and goats, who were closely related by ties of kinship and culture to the Arabs of the Arabian Peninsula. It is said that Yaqub first married Leah. Leah, the daughter of his maternal uncle, Laban. And she bore him 6 sons. Okay? Follow me. Yaqub, because Yaqub had 12 sons. All right? The 12 tribes of what? Israel, right? Okay. So he had 6 sons by Leah. All right? Then Leah died, and Yaqub married her sister, Rachel, who bore him Yusuf and Benjamin. Okay, so the mother of Yusuf and Benjamin, all right, was Rachel. Another of Yaqub's wives, Bilhah, bore him 2 more sons. All right, Dan and Naphtali. It's interesting, Naphtali. I'll stop here. When I saw it, I said Naphtali. And that name wrong, and then I realized our landscaper, his name is Naphtali. He's going to be, he's going to be cutting down the trees, all right? And so he's a Hispanic person, and I thought, what kind of name is that? It's a biblical name, though. He probably don't even know himself. Naphtali, okay? All right. And a fourth wife that he married later on, Zilpah, bore him two sons also, okay? And so all told, I just ran through that real quickly. But all told, from the different wives that he had, now he had 12 sons, all right? Okay. Some commentators say he had a daughter by one of those women as well. But the Quran only mentioned the 12 sons, so we won't even go into that, all right? As we know, Yaqub succeeded Ishaq as a prophet, okay? Yaqub succeeded Ishaq. At some point in his life, Yaqub came to be called Israel. We don't know what point he came there, but he's known as Israel, all right? The father of the Bani Israel, the children of Israel. Because of which both in the Bible and in the Quran, his descendants are called the children of Israel. Bani Israel. Or more amply, the Israelites. Since there is no mention in the Quran of Yaqub's people in the sense of Noah's people or Lot's people, perhaps he was a prophet only to his own family members. SubhanAllah. He had a big family. And so he was the imam of his family. He was a prophet to his family. Alhamdulillah. When I read that, I said, SubhanAllah, Al-Amin, your big family, right? Alhamdulillah, imam of my tribe, as they say. Alhamdulillah. May Allah bless them and guide us all, inshallah. Okay? So he was the prophet of his own family, who were quite numerous, as is suggested by Allah's saying. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Baqarah, verse 131, and this Ibrahim enjoined on his sons. He enjoined on his sons, and so did Yaqub, by saying, "Oh my sons." So Ibrahim enjoined, on his sons, and Yaqub enjoined on his, "Oh my sons," giving them advice. "Oh my sons, indeed Allah has chosen the religion for you." SubhanAllah. "So do not die except that you are a Muslim." So my sons, make sure you stay on your deen. Okay? So the divine wisdom of appointing Yaqub as a prophet to his large family became apparent in the latter period history of the children of Israel, For perhaps the descendants of Yaqub were the only people in the entire world at that time who worshiped the Creator. The earth was full of disbelievers, man. All right, let's face it. All right. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again bless him, alhamdulillah, exalt him, alhamdulillah. Yusuf, now his son Yusuf's, now we get it, that's a little background. Now we move on into the vision of Yusuf, okay? Now, Yusuf was a young man, maybe about, some commentators say he was young, maybe about 10, 11, 12, okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Yusuf, verse 1 to 3, all right? And the whole story of Yusuf is in the surah itself, so when you leave today, or during the week, read it, go back over and read it, alhamdulillah, okay? These are the verses of the clear book. Indeed, we have revealed it as an Arabic Quran that you may understand, and we relate to you the best of stories. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we relate to you the best of stories in what we have revealed to you of this Quran, although you were before it among the unaware. Amazing. The prophet could not read, he could not write. And this is this is an important lesson for us before we go any further. Okay? The prophet could not read or write, so he didn't read the story of Yusuf from the Bible or anything like that. Did see? Allah Ta'ala said, all right, we have revealed to you of this is Quran, although you were before it among the unaware. You didn't know. Where did he get this knowledge? So the lesson for us is, it's like it's a proof. You know what I'm saying, of the truthfulness of the Prophet Muhammad. It's like a miracle. Where did you get this information from? Where did you get so much detailed information? And it's not like the Bible. It's a whole lot of big difference in the biblical narration. Where did Muhammad get this here from? Allah gave it to him. Gave it to him clean. So when we read it, we should always reflect upon that. Wow, this beautiful story. And the details of it. All right? It's amazing, okay? So, with these words, Allah, he opens up the best of stories, the fascinating history of the Prophet Yusuf, may Allah be pleased with him. The opening of the story depicts Yusuf as a boy living in his father's house together with his younger brother Benjamin and his 10 brothers. They call them step-brothers, but that's a Western term, brothers. Okay? Okay. But they have the same father. Different mothers, same father. They people be in this step-brother thing or the half-brother thing because of different lives. That's really not an Islamic notion, brothers. The common denominator is the dad. That's what binds them. Okay? All right? So, but anyway, so he lived along with his brothers, who were all elders. They were much older than he was. Various circumstances suggest that Yusuf's age may have been about 10. Okay? He was young at that time. It is only natural that there should be friction and rivalry and jealousy amongst the 12 sons of 4 different mothers. All right? And so, I'm going to skip a lot of that, all right, because that's just opinion. All right? But there was some envy, there was some jealousy of the brothers. And that is attributed to, because Yusuf was beautiful. He was beautiful, and he was smart, he was intelligent, you see what I'm saying? And so the father kind of, Yaqub kind of like inclined toward him more outwardly. He showed that favoritism, man, because that we want to talk about the end of the story and whatnot. You got to be very, very careful. The Prophet ﷺ treated his kids. He always encouraged them. One man came to the Messenger of Allah, and asked the Prophet to bear witness to him giving one of his children a gift, right? And the Prophet, wanted the Prophet to be a witness to this gift he wanted to give one of his children. And the Prophet said, well, do you have another child? He said, yeah. Did you give the other one a gift too? He said, no, I can't be a witness to that. You got to be fair. Got to be fair with your children. If you give one, you know what I'm saying, you got to give the other something too. You don't have to give them the same thing, but you You got to balance that thing out. You don't want the other to see that, you're doing this for them and you ain't doing it for me, so forth and so on. So all that is important in terms of how you deal with your children. Great lesson in that.
Yeah.
All right? So Yaqub had it, because Yusuf was, Yusuf, okay, alhamdulillah, all right? So, one of the main things about Yusuf is that he was beautiful. Beautiful. He was a handsome guy. All right? Real handsome, man. In fact, one of the causes of this envy was undoubtedly that the fact that the Yusuf was incredibly handsome. Okay? For the prophet, our prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said of him, Yusuf and his mother were given half of all the beauty in the world. So his mother, Rachel, half the beauty of the world. SubhanAllah. Okay. This is Imam Tabari, he mentioned that. Okay. So he was beautiful, all right? Handsome. This was not sufficient cause. It was clearly obvious to his brothers that he was more dear to their father than themselves due to his taqwa, his righteousness, his goodness, his good character, so forth and so on. All right. But be as it may, Yaqub loved him, and he just couldn't. He loved him for his piety more than anything else. That was the main thing and whatnot. And maybe the other brothers wasn't so good, and they wasn't so, pious. They wasn't so obedient, so forth and so on, which will manifest itself later on in terms of, basically when as the story goes on, they ended up plotting to do what they did. They showed where their heart was at. Obviously, the father kind of already knew where they was at in terms of their behavior and what kind of people they were. Where Yusuf was different, was more pure and clean, so naturally inclined. But even like I said, those kinds of eventualities, those kinds of realities in our lives, we just have to be careful. That's all. Just if I can just divert for a minute, just like when a man, like in Islam, a man takes on another wife, he has more than one wife in Islam and whatnot, and his heart may be inclined more toward the other, one over the other, emotionally, he can't control that. And Allah don't fault you for that. But he does say, but don't leave them hanging. Don't leave them thinking that they ain't a wife. Don't become so neglectful. No, you can't do that. You gotta be fair in terms of your time, in terms of your gifts. Make sure you at least do that. And the prophet did that. He may do it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah, this is what I can do in terms of justice and to be fair, to make sure all of them are eating and clothed and everybody gets their time. Because that's humanly possible. That is. And I bear witness, that's humanly possible. Okay? But the emotional thing, prophet didn't have no control over it. So we can't have control of it. That's why Allah wants to say you can never be just emotionally, even if your ardent desire, you can. You see? So in human relationships, again, people's conduct is very, very important. Just like Allah says in the Quran, the most honorable of you in the sight of Allah is what? One is taqwa. So the more taqwa you have, the more Allah loves. So if you're more inclined toward Allah, Allah's going to be more inclined to you. Allah is more inclined to the one who fears Him and worships Him than the one that doesn't. It's natural. You see? But you still got rights. That's the whole point. Okay? And so, but of course, we all encourage, because it's an even playing field, you see, in terms of worshiping Allah and getting close to Allah. So everybody, no one is deprived. It's up to you. It's up to your heart. It's up to your own belief, your own striving. And you can get there too. You can get that honorable position. You can get that closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Alhamdulillah. As the story opened, Yusuf alayhi salam is engaged in a private, intimate conversation with his father, during which he relates a dream or a vision he had just had. See, oh my father, here's the Quran. This is all in Surah Yusuf. I'm going to be quoting verse reference Surah Yusuf. So you always go back and refer to it. All right? So, oh my father, indeed I saw 11 stars and the sun and the moon. I saw them prostrating to me. I saw the 11 stars in my dream making sajda to me. So Yaqub immediately grasped the meaning of the son's vision, because he was a prophet.
Amen.
And Yusuf didn't understand. He was a young boy, so he wasn't a prophet yet. I mean, but he was, we would say, as the commentators say, he was a prophet in training. Allah gave him a true vision, but he didn't quite understand what that was. But right away, Yaqub, oh, wow, stars. 12 stars, the sun and the moon making sajda. So right away, Yaqub saw, that something great was in store for his son. Honor and honor and position. Honor and authority. He saw something great for his son. All right, and which was a part of prophethood, of course. You see, so he saw that. So Yaqub immediately grasped. All right. And of course, Yusuf didn't realize the significance of it, but alhamdulillah. But his father knew that his brothers would have no difficulty understanding it. Don't relate that dream to your brothers, because they were much older than him. So they might grab, hey, something, get me to jump off. You imagine you relate that to your brother. Yo, hey y'all, I had a dream last night. All y'all making surgery to me. What? Can you imagine? What that mean? You're going to be in charge of it. He'll squirt you. You know what I'm saying? SubhanAllah. Human nature, right? SubhanAllah. You know what I'm saying? So his father said, oh, boy. Don't tell your brothers that, man. Bad enough, the father has enough insight to realize, he knows his son and whatnot, okay? They already got a little thing going, and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And so, alhamdulillah. Said, oh my son, do not tell your vision to your brothers, or they will make a plot against you. Because he said, indeed, Shaitan is a clear enemy to the human beings. See? That's all it is. It be the devil, that's all. The bad people. But Shaitan, he plays on the little emotional things. Like the Prophet said, Shaitan runs through your body like your blood. He throw little stuff out there. Okay, that you weren't even aware of. I don't know. Okay, so these words against suggest that Yaqub had sufficient evidence of his sons, their little ill feeling, their little jealousies against their younger brother, so forth and so on. So he had insight. All right, so that's why he cautioned his son. Keep that. And one of the lessons we learn in that, alhamdulillah, that the scholars they mentioned later on concerning, one of the lessons of this here is that, don't relate your vision to everybody. Your plan, your vision for 10 years from now, I intend to do this. You lay it all out. You got your vision, your life plan, your goals. Yeah. See? SubhanAllah. Be careful who you relate to. Maybe, somebody, you got envious people. This for anybody. Try to knock your vision down. Try to discourage you. Try to sabotage. Don't want to see you successful. So sometimes you got to keep it for yourself. So he related to his father, but don't relate to everybody, man. Just like even when we have dreams, and dreams is 1/46 of prophecy. You see, so sometimes we have dreams, and sometimes it can be true dreams, but we don't relate dreams to everybody. We relate to those who are close to us, those who we trust, our elders, our imams, our leaders, or people who can interpret. Not every time they can have, not every Abdullah and every like, yo, y'all, I had a dream last night, and check this out. Who do you think he is? Who she thinks she is? Oh, they got dreams, huh? Who you think you're a prophet or prophetess? People all want to relate, I got some insight, so you keep that to yourself. No. If there's some guidance in it for you, alhamdulillah. You see what I'm saying? Ain't nobody interested in your dreams. Like all focus on you. You see, what happens sometimes? People they can become very selfish. You see, so cherish your dreams. If some good in it, it's good. If there's some bad in it, seek refuge in Allah to protect you from it. Okay, but don't relate to everybody. Go to somebody that you trust. Your wife, no problem. Your husband, sweetheart, I had a dream. What you think? Let me find out. Let me investigate that. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So dreams, we have dreams. We can get people to interpret dreams for us. It's just a way. All right, dreams are not bad. Okay, and there's a way we deal with it, though. In this case here, Yaqub saw this. Oh, this is heavy here, and you don't need to be relating that to everybody. Just keep that to yourself, and live your life like you got to live it, basically. Okay. And thus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, continuing on in the surah. And thus will your Lord choose you and teach you the interpretation of events, and complete his favor upon you and upon the family of Yaqub, as he completed it previously upon your fathers Abraham and Isaac. So Yaqub prophesied clearly seeing the auspicious future that was in store for his beloved son. He said, indeed, your Lord is knowing wise. So I see something good coming down in the future for you, you know. All right. So now Yusuf and his brothers. Indeed, in Yusuf and his brothers are signs for the inquiring. After this, the narratives in the Quran shift from Yaqub to his sons. Okay? As Yusuf's 10 brothers complain to one another about Yusuf's favored position. The brothers' speech and manner stand out in harsh contrast to Yusuf's innocence and sincerity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, he reveals us in the Quran, and Yusuf and his brother, that is his brother Benjamin by the same mother, Rachel, Yusuf's brother from the same mother, are more dear to our father than we are. This is the conversation that the brothers are having. Him and his brother Benjamin, who by the same mother, he more dearer. So they had a battle against both of them. There was a rivalry. Okay, all right. While we are a clan, all right. So they had ill intent. They grumbled among themselves. Indeed, our father is in a clear aberration. Our father is wrong for that. So they had a beef with their dad. So again, it shows you ain't supposed to have no beef with your dad. Even if your dad is unjust and whatnot. Because again, you can never repay your mother and father what they did for you. They brought you in the world. They raised you. It doesn't matter. If they sometime in their treatment of you, they don't off, but long they're abusing you. But alhamdulillah, they take care of you. They're looking after you. They teach you good manners, and no doubt Yaqub doing all of that. But they had these little beefs. Where's the gratitude? Okay, because Allah commands that we be grateful to Allah and that we be grateful to our parents. Amen. Doesn't matter. So your parents, you still owe them. Even though parents can be a little unjust, a little hard, it's okay. Because the bottom line, when you get older, you're going to see. When you mature, you'll say, wow, I thank Allah for my mom. I thank her, for that tough love. See, that tough love, that, you know what I'm saying? That rough, I thank Allah for them. I thank Allah that I had a mom. I thank Allah that I had a dad in my life. Okay. So, so they had their little beefs, and so they plotted and they schemed, and so part of the conversation, we need to get rid of him. That word, kill Yusuf or banish him to a distant land. One of them proposed, your father's regard will then be accessible to you. Then as if to offer an excuse for the horrendous deed he had suggested, he added, and after that you will be righteous people. So if we get rid of him, then we ain't got to worry about, stay our father showing favoritism. We can get all the attention from dad, so forth and so on. So this is kind of the conversation, all right? So one of them amongst the 10, the better of them, one who was a little more softer, said, nah, do not kill him, man. We don't need to, that's our brother, man. We need to kill him, man. You know what I'm saying? He suggested, but if you must do something, then let's throw him in a well. Let's throw him in a well, okay? And so there's some travelers that will come later on, they'll pick him up, okay? They'll pick him up and we'll get some money for him, and so forth and so on, okay? So so basically, they decided to do that and make a long story short, rather than physically harm, they threw him in a well, all right? Our father, they said, why do you not? So then they decided to go to their father. They hatched their plot. Go to their father and say, look, I'm going to let Yusuf come play with us. We're going to go in the field. So the father, he was very skeptical, letting Yusuf go, young Yusuf, with the brothers, knowing their mentality and so forth and so on. Send him with us tomorrow to enjoy himself and play, and indeed we will be his guardian and protector. They were some deep guys, man. Perhaps something of this sort was precisely what Yaqub had meant when he cautioned Yusuf against telling his brothers the vision. Something is up, something's in the air. Knowing his son's ill nature, he understood well enough that they had thought up some scheme against their brother who surpassed him all so greatly in character. See, again, character. He was such a good guy, all right? And, his brothers, Yusuf's brother wasn't like that, He had a good attitude, he had good akhlaq, but he was kind of like trapped. I couldn't, he he was caught between a rock and a hard place. That's their brother, though. That's their brother. You got to. All right. So, alhamdulillah, he kind of like relented reluctantly. All right. And Allah subhanahu, indeed, it saddens me that you should take him. You know, so he said, and I fear that a wolf may devour him while you are heedless of him. So while you got him in the field, and you're away from him, a wolf may, attack him. And, you know what I'm saying? So by him saying that, basically, and then that was the excuse that they used later. When they took him out to play, and they hatched it, or they implemented their plot, to put him in that well and whatnot. They took his shirt and took a sheep. To make a long story short, and took the blood of the sheep and put it on the shirt, basically, and they took it back to their father. Oh, Dad, a wolf devoured Yusuf. That was the excuse that they made, ultimately, okay? Alhamdulillah. If a wolf were to devour him while we are such a mighty clan, so many of us, we would then indeed be the losers. Okay? That couldn't happen. No way that can happen on our watch. We're protected. The following day, the treacherous brothers took their unsuspecting brother Yusuf out with them. Presently, they seized him, stripped off his shirt, and put him into the bottomless well, where they left him to his fate, and they stained his shirt with blood of an animal they had killed as evidence to their father that he was really dead. So that's what they did. And Allah says, again, and they came to their father at night weeping false tears, false crying, right? Oh, our father, they cried. Indeed, we went racing and left Yusuf out with our things. He was guarding our back, and a wolf devoured him. Wow. It's a beautiful story. Right? Then observing Yaqub's disbelief, they added, but you would not believe us even if we were truthful. And to convince him that they were not lying, they produced his shirt with false blood upon it. Okay? You can imagine Yaqub's feelings at that point. His terrible anxiety over Yusuf's unknown fate. Okay? Had his brothers then killed him so that this blood was really his, so he didn't totally believe it, all right? But he didn't know exactly what happened to his son, all right? And at the same time, his horror at the naked evil that he saw so clearly within his sons. And although he was their father and a prophet, he had no power to deal with them because there were so many of them, and they were big, all right? And he was old. There were 10 of them acting as a body in their wickedness, entirely out of his control, impelled by the worst of all ill feelings and envy. So Yaqub had already understood and accepted the fact that some calamity would befall his beloved son. All right? But he didn't believe that he was dead, though. But he's a prophet of Allah, so this is a test for him. And it's a test for Yusuf, and he already understands that this vision, this dream that Yusuf had already. So he's confident, but he's still sad, though, because I really don't know what's happening. I really don't know what my Lord going to put my son through. Can you imagine? Okay? So he had to be patient. So Yaqub had already, again, he understood. I fear that a wolf may devour him while you are heedless of him. And they reply, if a wolf were to, so here the ayahs are being repeated again. If a wolf were to devour him while we are a strong clan, then we would indeed be the losers. That it did not ring true. As for the shirt, obviously a wolf does not devour a person and leave his shirt. So the father saw right through it. You see what I'm saying? A wolf ain't gonna devour you and leave the shirt. So it was like, so Yaqub was kind of confident, man, that his son was not dead. Or that a wolf really didn't devour him. Because, wolf, you're going to tear the shirt up and eat the shirt, eat you too. You see what I'm saying? So he was, alhamdulillah. Whatever the case might be, something deep, devious, and terribly wicked was afoot. Although Yaqub could not know exactly what it was, something had happened to Yusuf, but not this. In other words, a wolf, no. Okay? Yet Yaqub, just in his Lord, he trusted in Allah. He said, no by your lower selves have enticed you to do this, or to say what you're saying, okay? Therefore, patience is the most benefiting, and Allah is the one sought for help against that which you describe. So I'll be patient, and I'll trust in Allah. Okay? That story goes over well with you, but not with me, basically. All right? Alhamdulillah. So Yusuf, so the first test of Yusuf. Here's the first test. And they scheme, and Allah scheme, and Allah is the best of schemers. I don't know. Meanwhile, the young Yusuf remained in the bottom of the well. We can imagine his state of mind at his horrendous betrayal by his brothers. We can also imagine the pain he must have felt for his beloved father's grief. Then in that desperate and troubled state, the divine revelation came to his heart. Allah revealing. Now I guess this is where he's becoming a prophet now, right? You know, or prophet in training. You will surely inform them, your brothers, about this affair of theirs while they do not perceive. Okay? You will meet them again, threw you in the well and did this to you. You will one day confront them with deceit while they won't know who you are. Basically, subhanAllah. Powerful. That's a powerful statement. Thus did his Lord comfort him. So that gave Yusuf some reassurance. Don't worry. Okay? I got you. Think about that. Here in the bottom of the pit. Wow, man. You know, Allah revealed to him, revelation. Don't worry. You're going to get him back. Okay? So it's Allah, assuring him that you're going to be okay. You see? So therefore, he resolved to be patient. See? This was the first test. First test in Yusuf's journey. Now remember, he got this vision of success. You see, but it started out what? With a terrible situation where he's thrown in a well. Okay? Alhamdulillah. It is reported that Yusuf stayed in the well for 3 days and 3 nights. And then, at a time decreed by Allah, there came a company of travelers in an Egyptian caravan. They sent their drawer of water. One of them came to draw water of the well, and he let down his pail, catching hold of the rope. Yusuf was pulled out of the well. Good news, exclaimed the drawer of the water when he saw the extraordinarily handsome boy. Here is a lad. According to the interpretation of the classical commentators, the treacherous brothers now appeared and demanded payment for Yusuf. Would be the fate of Yusuf, you see. So once they came out, once the drawer of the water pulled Yusuf up in the water pail, and they said what they said, then the brothers came for, hey, we put him there and we want some money for him, whatnot, okay. So they demanded some money, okay, and this caravan of merchants or traders, they paid him, no problem. This beautiful lad here, this beautiful young man, what's your price? They paid him a few dirhams, as the story goes. The men had brought Yusuf, bought him, and concealed him as merchandise, meaning as a treasure they had found. For they supposed that if the others in the caravan knew about him, they would demand a share in his price when he was sold as a slave once they had reached Egypt. And Allah was knowing in what they did, okay? So guiding and directing their every movement and supporting and frightening, grieving Yusuf throughout his ordeal with his mercy and his tender love. So Allah protected him as they proceeded on to Egypt. Thus it was that hidden from the others in the caravan. So these merchants, they kind of like, shielded Yusuf from the rest of the people that was in the caravan. All right. And there he was bought by one who recognized his value, a man of power, once he got to Egypt, and prestige, referred to in the Quran as El-Aziz. That was his title, the exalted one. All right? It is said that he was a high-ranking official in charge of the Egyptian treasury. All right, so he bought Yusuf, okay? Once they brought him there and sold him, okay? So Yusuf's master brought his newly acquired slave boy to his home, all right, in the capital city of Memphis. That was the capital of Egypt, Memphis. He said to his wife, perhaps he may benefit us, or we may adopt him as a son. Okay, so that was the Aziz's statement. And thus did we establish Yusuf in the land, that we might teach him the interpretation of events, and Allah is predominant over his affair. But most people do not know. We move on. So that's the first ordeal in Yusuf's life, okay? Being plotted against and thrown in the well and sold into slavery and brought to Egypt. It's the first test. Now Yusuf is patient, you know. He's a slave now. Before he was a free boy, the son of his father. Now he's in a strange land, in the household of this great, honorable, ruler. Okay. So the next scene in the life of Yusuf opens an undermined number of years later. During the period of his stay in Egypt, living in the house of his high-ranking master and patron, Yusuf had grown to adulthood, both physically and spiritually. Now he's a little older. Trained and guided by his Lord, who says of him, and when he reached maturity, we granted him judgment and knowledge, and thus do we reward the doers of good, which is understood as indicating that prophethood had by then been bestowed upon him. Now he's a prophet, but he's still allowed him, Allah still got him going to what he, because, there's a bigger picture in all of this. And this is a lot of prophets, so Allah got him going through what he's going through, Allah put the prophet on, okay, now let me make a way you can, so you can get out of Egypt, you go back to your father. Allah's wisdom is beyond us. So he kept him in that situation. So he got older. Okay? Yusuf's master, it is said, were not only childish, he couldn't have children. Okay? And his wife's name was Zuleika. Okay? Disappointed in her husband, Zuleika, she wasn't so happy. Okay? But she was beautiful. So disappointed in her husband, perhaps her eyes had been fixed for some time on the incredibly handsome youth who lived in her home. Okay? So he was old, he's always busy doing the work of the state. His wife at home, ain't had no kid, said she's miserable, she's young. Whoa, Yusuf is in her serving, serving. He's a servant. He says, so her eyes, I'm sure for a long time, something going on in her heart. Okay? And one day, unable to contain herself any longer, she couldn't hold out any longer, right? She maneuvered Yusuf into an empty room. Quickly, she closed the door. So this is the second test. Oh my God. Come, she said, come to me. She ordered him as one orders a slave. Come to me, I'm your master. Come to me. Can you imagine? God, Allah be my refuge, Yusuf exclaimed, horrified. His first thought was of his master, the Aziz, who's been kind to him and good to him, who had taken him in and trusted him with honor and kindness. Indeed, he is my master, who has made my stay good. Indeed, the wrongdoers will not prosper. So he couldn't, he kept thinking about his the Aziz. So whether Yusuf was at this point a prophet or prophet in training, he was nevertheless a man in the full prime of life, and Zuleika was no doubt a most beautiful, desirable woman. Moreover, she was his mistress, and he was in truth her slave, over whom she had full command and control. You got to do what I say. I'm the mistress. Can you imagine? Okay. And she certainly desired him. That's what the Quran said. And she certainly desired him, and she would, and he would have inclined toward her if he had not seen his Lord's proof. Okay? Thus it was, Allah Most High adds, that we might avert evil and immorality from him. Indeed, he was among our chosen servants. So the above words make it clear that Zuleika approached Yusuf in the full intensity of her desire, and that he responded to her. The early Quranic commentaries give two interpretations of his response. Listen carefully. One is that he merely felt desire for her without acting upon it. Human being? Wow, man, she fine, man. Door is closed. You know what the Prophet ﷺ said? You know, do not be in the room with the opposite sex. For shaitan is the third party. Seclusion with a woman, you see. So one is that he merely felt desire for her without acting on it. All right? The other interpretation by Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, is that he was on the verge of possessing her and might have done so if he had not at that moment seen something so decisive. Allah sent him a proof at that moment. It was the mercy of Allah, okay? The mercy that it averted evil and immorality from him, that made him turn away. So he saw something. At that moment, you know, Allah interceded in a way, again, that made him, no way. Okay? Now remember, I related earlier how subhanAllah, the prophets of God, the prophets of Allah, are human beings. Allah protects them. But the desire sometimes, shaitan, and the prophet taught us all of this. The prophet taught us all of this. And he taught us how to deal. That's why he said, don't be in a room with a woman by yourself. Don't put yourself through that. You see? And if you're walking in the marketplace and you see something beautiful that attracts you, what did he tell us? What else did he say?
Go home to your wife.
There you go. Thank you, man. See? Go home to your wife, or she has the same thing. And he actually did that in two narrations. He went and grabbed one of his wives where they were with the sisters, and and took her home. You see what I'm saying? And satisfied his desire. This is in the hadith. Some people say, the prophet, subhanAllah, he's teaching us. He said, so this will happen to you, this is what you do. And that's why it's important for the young men. That's why the prophet said, young men, he knows about the desire. Young men, those of you who can afford to get married, he said, get married. And those who cannot, then they should fast to suppress the desire. So the desire is there. So even Yusuf, and even at that point, he wasn't like what we call a full-blown prophet at that point, but the desire, the Quran implies, you know what I'm saying, and the hadith and the comment implies that the desire was there. But again, in another narration, the Prophet said, a man came to the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, I have these horrible ideas in my head, these bad thoughts. They're so bad, I'm ashamed. I wouldn't let anybody know what I'm thinking. And the Prophet ﷺ said, as long as you don't act on them, as long as you don't act upon those bad thoughts, then that is true Iman. See, that's the fight. See, that's the struggle. That's the rumble, man. See, that's the, mujahada, the jihad against the nafs, which we all supposed to engage in. SubhanAllah. Got to fight that. You said, so when you have these thoughts, so in other words, it teaches us that we all have some wayward thoughts. Some shaitan come, and wayward thoughts. They come on a different level. The Prophet is making prayer, and he's rumbling, and he symbolically spits several times to the right, you know, or the left. I can't recollect. You see. Then afterwards, listen, you along. What was all that about? We saw you grabbing something. He said, I was playing in Shaitan. A jinn came and it distracted me, so I snatched him by his neck. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, had I not remembered the Prophet Sulaiman having control over the jinn, I'd have tied him to the pole so you can see it.
Wow.
But Shaitan came and distracted him while he's in his prayer. The Prophet of Allah. So Shaitan, you have, you know, subhanAllah, there are things you have to constantly rumble and fight and whatnot as a Muslim.
No.
You know, we're not immune from this here. You see what I'm saying? And so the Prophet was a perfect teacher. You know, that's what I, you know, when I read this and I share this with you, you say, what a teacher. He didn't leave out anything. Okay? All right? So here Yusuf, you know, so now Allah mentioned in the Quran, all right? So it was his Lord's proof that averted him, you know, from the immorality. Okay? What was that proof? Some of the commentators say that the figure of his father appeared. So this is commentary. A figure of his father appeared. You know, a figure appeared in a cloud or whatever it doesn't say. But the figure of his father appears. Oh no, son. This is one interpretation. Okay, Ibn Abbas, Tabari, I don't know which one, but it mentions, you know, again, it's one interpretation that the figure of his father appeared to him standing inside the house, biting his fingers and cautioning him against giving in to his desire. Okay? This is the interpretation. See, this is the commentary on these ayahs of the Quran. Man. See how beautiful tafsir is? I mean, you read the Quran, and then the scholars come and they explain things to you. You know. These explanations come from the companions and the tabi'in and the early scholars of Islam. Okay? To help us, you know, keep things in context. Huh? Alhamdulillah. All right. So that's one interpretation. Others say that he heard a voice. And still others say that he saw writing on the wall. Some writing appeared on the wall. In any case, it doesn't matter. What's important, whatever he saw, you know, in terms of Allah's presence, that's the whole thing, Allah's presence, that stopped him in his tracks. All right? Whether it's a figure of his Abu, or you heard a voice, you know what I'm saying, or you saw something, or you imagine you saw something on the wall, say, hey, Yusuf, don't do that. You see what I'm saying? Either way, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected him, okay? In any case, whatever the proof may have been, it caused Yusuf to turn and flee. And he said, I'm out of here. Can you imagine? He said, oh no, I see the proof of my Lord. Oh no, you ain't going to trap me off like that. And he broke for the door. He broke for the door. Okay. The slave and his mistress both raced to the door. And as Zuleika reached out for Yusuf, she tore his shirt from the back. She's running after him. Tore his shirt from the back. Then without warning, they found her husband at the door. Caught. Can you imagine? Yusuf runs for the door trying to get away from this woman. I'm out of here. No, I'm not going to submit to this. He ran to the door. She ran out there. As soon as he opened the door to get out, there goes the Aziz. That's the door. And so she, so you know the wife is embarrassed. So she starts making excuses, huh? Look how Allah revealed. This is what Allah revealed. Brothers and sisters, just reflect upon how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling this story to us. There's so many lessons in this.
No.
SubhanAllah. I mean, this detailed information. And then go back to the point that we made earlier about, where did the prophet get this story from? Where did the messenger of Allah get this story from, man? You can't make this up. You can't make this up. SubhanAllah, man. But Allah knows. You see, so Allah reveals to us what He wants us to reveal to get what we need to get from it. Everybody got it?
Yes.
SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah. And so, fanatically, Zuleika tried to clear herself of blame. She said, what is the punishment of one who intended evil to your wife except that he be imprisoned or be given some painful punishment? So she starts shifting the blame on him. What should be the punishment? He tried to rape me. Okay, that's what she's essentially saying now. Okay, all right. But Yusuf proclaimed his innocence. It was she who sought to seduce me. I didn't. She was trying to seduce me. I was trying to get out the door. Okay. The betrayed husband did not know who to believe. He loved Yusuf. He respected Yusuf. He loved his wife, but he knew her dilemma and her weaknesses. So he was kind of like Messa. He was kind of like caught between, wow, man, who do you believe? What's the deal? Okay. And then someone from her household, a servant, mentioned in the Quran, it says, then a witness from her household testified. I mean, somebody else from the family testified, pointing to the evidence of Yusuf's truthfulness. And they said, and this is in the Quran, if his shirt is torn from the front, then she has told the truth. And if he is of the liars. He declared in the manner of one experienced understanding such matters. But if his shirt is torn from the back, then she has lied and he is of the truthful. See, if torn from the front, I mean, he's, in front of her trying to, do something to her. She's fighting him off. She tore his shirt. You see? But if it's torn from the back, I mean, he's trying to get away from her, so she's the guilty one. Okay? All right? And that's what it came down to. All right? So Yusuf's master was wise and just. He did not attempt to defend or exonerate Zuleika simply because she was his wife. Rather, his interest was in determining the truth. Therefore, when he saw his shirt torn from the back, he said to his wife, this is of your scheming. So he knew she was guilty, okay? That is of the ways of women collectively who used to seduce men. This is the ways of women to seduce men. Terrible indeed is your scheming. So the Aziz then turned to his young slave whom he loved, saying, Yusuf, turn away from this. Meaning, do not mention this and pass over it as if it not happened. And again, addressing his wife, so he told Yusuf to forget about it, don't, as he felt kind of embarrassed, please don't say nothing to nobody. He kind of apologized in his own way for his wife's conduct. Don't tell nobody. You know what I'm saying? Just keep it, keep it secret. That's what he told Yusuf, okay? I'm not going to say nothing, you don't say nothing. Everybody got that? No. And then he turned to his wife Zuleika and said, these are the words of the Quran, and ask forgiveness for your sin. Indeed, you were of the sinful. You were wrong. Okay? Thus did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala try his servant Yusuf and save him a second time. First time the well, right? The well. Second time, this is the second ordeal. See, so this is another major test in his life. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, brings things always to a good end. Okay?
No.
I got two more short chapters to cover, and we'll close for the day. The women's meeting with Yusuf. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and when they saw him, they extolled his greatness. So the word of what had happened, or what took place between the beautiful aristocratic wife of the Aziz and Yusuf soon leaked out and spread amongst the noble women of the city. So now that the word done got out, said that the president's wife or the governor's wife or the leader's wife were trying to seduce her slave. So you imagine how women, my God, what's wrong with that woman? Trying to seduce a slave. I mean, they're talking about it. Man. So Zuleika's hearing all this. Oh, man. So she's, man, she's going through it now. Okay. All right. So the wife of El-Aziz is seeking to seduce her slave. This is what the Quran said. They whispered to one another, he has inflamed her with love. You can imagine. You know how women get together, right? And they passed judgment upon her, saying, indeed, we see her in clear, she's clearly gone astray, y'all. she ain't worthy of being the first lady, right? Okay? She shouldn't be the first lady. So this talk reached Zuleika, reached her ears, because she was an experienced woman skilled in dealing with the politics of the capital city. She was not one to be put down by the gossip of her peers. However, she was also not one to submit to it in silence. Consequently, a subtle plan for teaching the women a lesson worked itself out in her mind. So she started scheming, how could I deal with this situation?
True
Okay.
politician.
Okay. So when she heard of their scheming, she sent for them. She decided to have a party. Come on over for dinner. Come on over and dine with me. Big party, okay? So when she heard their scheming, she sent for them, inviting them to her palace, and prepared a banquet for them of great luxury with couches upon which to recline. And when the women were in their places, she gave each of them a knife for cutting the variety of the various fruits that she had set before them and, on the table and whatnot. And Zuleika's scheme had worked. No, after she gave them the knives, as they're sitting at the table, she then called Yusuf, saying, "Come out before them. Come out, Yusuf," wherever Yusuf was. "Come out." And as a slave, he had no choice but to obey her. Okay? And when the women saw him, they were so amazed at his almost superhuman beauty that they unknowingly cut their hands with the knives they were holding. They cut them. Wow! Oh my God! Look what? They were just overwhelmed with his beauty. Okay? So they cut their hand, and they extolled him greatly, saying, "How perfect is God! This is not a mortal. This is not a human being. This is nothing but a noble angel. He's so fine, right? He's so handsome." They got caught up and they cut their hair. Zuleika's scheme had worked beautifully in any in this world, and he called upon Allah. Oh Allah! All these women, the whole community of the women, the ladies in the society, all in an uproar. Oh, we want this man. Everybody wanted him. Can you imagine? Oh my Lord, he prayed. Oh my Lord, I'd rather go to prison than to be invited to what they're inviting me to. See? That's what he said. Yeah. Allah, man. You see? So that's his third ordeal. Now you got to go to prison. Of course, the men had to take sure they decided, you know what I'm saying? Even though Yusuf is innocent, they said, "Now let him go to prison right now. Our ladies are acting up. He need not be on the scene, right?" So they sent him in prison, man. What did he do? Okay? All right, so in order to protect, the society and cool the women out and to protect the men's reputation, put him in jail, man. Get him away from the scene. Anybody got to see him, he would go to jail, he'd be forgotten, and that's it. And our ladies would eventually just calm down and be themselves. They can't get to him no more. He's locked up. And if you do not turn away their plot from me, he's still making it, I might incline toward them and thus be amongst the ignorant. So again, he's still recognizing his own humanness. And it's important for us Muslims never think that we're so tough and so strong in our iman and our character, that we can't get ripped off, or we can't be tempted in these kinds of situations. Here's the Prophet of Allah, all the protection on him. All right, so we have to always protect ourselves and whatnot. And that's what the deen teaches us now. Alhamdulillah. Mercy of Allah, okay? So Yusuf goes to prison. Okay, so this is the third test on him. So again, thrown in the well, that was a test. You know what I'm saying? All right, thrown in the well and sold into slavery, and then being tempted, by his patron's wife. That's another test, the women test. All right, and then he had to go to prison. You know what I'm saying? And going to prison for what? For innocent. He wasn't guilty. All right? That's the third test. But Yusuf is still what? He's still patient. He's still patient.
Steadfast.
He said, oh, Lord, why are you doing this to me? So there's lessons for us. No matter what's promised to you down the line. Now remember, keep in mind the vision. So 12 stars, the sun and the moon bowing down to me, man. I saw that in my dream. Father said, hey, man, something great is in store for you from your maker. All right? But it didn't mean, because he had that noble vision, that he wouldn't have to go through changes. So we have to always keep that in mind. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu throughout his prophetic career, from the very beginning, he would always remind the believers of that vision. When Khabbab ibn Arad came to him at the Kaaba in the early phase of Islam and said, when is Allah's help going to come? When is Allah's help going to come? You know, we're going through this persecution and all this pain and suffering at the hands of the Quraysh, etc., etc. When is Allah's help going to come? And the Prophet sallallahu you know, make a long hadith short, the Prophet told him, look, those who came before you went through much worse. You understand? Be patient. Be patient. For I swear by Allah that one day, alhamdulillah, a person will travel from Sana'a to Hadramaut, 2 different cities on the Arabian Peninsula. They will travel from one end of the peninsula to the other end, and they will fear nothing but Allah. Because Islam will be what? Established. You know, there won't be no more persecution. There won't be no more pain and suffering at the hands of Quraysh. We'll be in charge. The deen of Allah. That's what he told them. That's the vision. And all through so he was down. They were being persecuted. He was being persecuted. But he gave them that vision, you know. He gave them that hope. And throughout, you know, again, in the Meccan phase, in the Medina phase, when they were under attack and they were down, and looked like the kuffar, you know, again, you know, adversity, you know, was getting the uppermost, you know, over them. The Prophet always give them the hope of, hey, victory, and we'll be on top, don't worry about it. But we got to go through what we got to go through. Do you think you're going to be tested? You think you're going to enter Allah's paradise without being tested? You see, so the trials of life, this is what comes, you know, with success. The Prophet said, you know, victory comes with patience. You know, so success will come after going through what you got to go through. So we move on, okay? So his Lord responded to him and averted their plot from him. Indeed, he is the hearer and the knower. So Allah heard his dua. After becoming aware of their wives' infatuation with Yusuf, the aristocrats or the leaders of the city became concerned. It then occurred to them, after they had seen the signs of Yusuf's obvious innocence, that he, the Aziz, should certainly imprison him for a time. Cool the ladies out. That's what they had him assured, that's what they decided. So in prison, Yusuf would be out of the way of any woman who desired him. They ain't got to see him and be tempted. I mean, he was like a menace to society, man. You so handsome. So we gotta put you out of sight. Everybody look at you and they hug you. Hey, you know, that's what it appears to be. Especially the women of honor, or the women, you know, the elite women, or the upper middle class, or the rich, you know, the sophisticated women, the wives of the elite. We can't have this, man. We put him away. This is embarrassing. Can you imagine? Okay? Okay. So they certainly prison for him, put him in prison for a time. So in prison, Yusuf would be out of the way of the women who desired him, and now all their wives were involved. Perhaps they reasoned that it was better to let an innocent person suffer than to tolerate this kind of disturbance in their households. So this is their reasoning. It was a case of Yusuf's interest versus their own. And because they did not want to prolong or expose the scandal that had now erupted among them, their interests prevailed over justice. Okay, alhamdulillah. Various commentaries have been put forward as to Yusuf's age at that time. he entered the prison, but none of them is authoritative, so there are different opinions. How it is supposed that he may have been around 20 or in his early 20s. He was still young. Okay? It is evident from the Quran, the Quranic account, that he was by now a prophet, for sure, receiving revelations and inspiration from his Lord. Perhaps these, together with the knowledge that some high destiny awaited him, revealed in his childhood, the vision that was revealed to him in his childhood, and that the inspiration he had received in the well sustained and supported him through this new test. And he now began to carry out his divinely appointed mission inside the prison walls. Okay? So as he goes into the prison, again, what is being said here is that perhaps now him recollecting, the vision that he had when he was young, and his father, told him, okay, something great is in store for you, you see. And the voice that he heard when he was in the well, Allah, you will see your brothers another time when they won't know you. Those two situations kind of like, comforted him. Allah's with me, man. So I got to go into prison. Let me get busy with Allah's work. It's amazing. So when Yusuf gets inside the prison, why am I here? Why I got to go through this? Look at the patience of Yusuf. The patience of Yusuf. Okay? I'll stop there. It gets gooder and gooder. We'll pick up next week on his ordeal, because it's a beautiful dawah lesson for us. Than any in this world, and he called upon Allah. Oh Allah! All these women, the whole community of the women, the ladies in the society, all in an uproar. Oh, we want this man. Everybody wanted him. Can you imagine? SubhanAllah. Oh my Lord, he prayed. Oh my Lord, I'd rather go to prison than to be invited to what they're inviting me to. See? That's what he said. Yes. Allah, man. You see? So that's his third ordeal. Now you got to go to prison. Of course, the men had to take sure they decided, you know what I'm saying? Even though Yusuf is innocent, they said, let him go to prison right now. Our ladies are acting up. He need not be on the scene, right? So they sent him in prison, man. What did he do? Okay? So in order to protect, the society and cool the women out and to protect the men's reputation, put him in jail, man. Get him away from the scene. Anybody got to see him, he would go to jail, he'd be forgotten, and that's it. And our ladies would eventually just calm down and be themselves. They can't get to him no more. He's locked up. And if you do not turn away their plot from me, he's still making it, I might incline toward them and thus be amongst the ignorant. So again, he still recognizing his own humanness. And it's important for us Muslims never think that we're so tough and so strong in our iman, in our character, that we can't get ripped off, or we can't be tempted in these kinds of situations. Here's the Prophet of Allah, all the protection on him. All right, so we have to always protect ourselves and whatnot. And that's what the deen teaches us now. Alhamdulillah. Mercy of Allah, okay? So Yusuf goes to prison. Okay, so this is the third test upon him. So again, thrown in the well, that was a test. You know what I'm saying? All right, thrown in the well and sold into slavery. And then being tempted, by his patron's wife. That's another test, the women test. All right, and then he had to go to prison. You know what I'm saying? And going to prison for what? For innocent. He wasn't guilty. All right, that's the third test. But Yusuf is still what? He's still patient. He's still patient.
That's fast.
He said, "Oh Allah, why are you doing this to me?" Oh, so these are lessons for us. No matter what's promised to you down the line. Now remember, keep in mind the vision. The 12 stars, the sun and the moon bowing down to me, man. I saw that in my dream. Father said, "Hey, man, something great is in store for you from your Maker." All right? But it didn't mean, because he had that noble vision, that he wouldn't have to go through changes.
Wow.
So we have to always keep that in mind. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu throughout his prophetic career, from the very beginning, he would always remind the believers of that vision. When Khabbab ibn Arad came to him at the Kaaba in the early phase of Islam and said, when is Allah's help going to come? When is Allah's help going to come? You know, we're going through this persecution and all this pain and suffering at the hands of the Quraysh, etc., etc. When is Allah's help going to come? And the Prophet ﷺ, make a long hadith short, the Prophet told him, look, man, those who came before you went through much worse. You understand? Be patient. Be patient. For I swear by Allah that one day, alhamdulillah, a person will travel from Sana'a to Hadramaut, 2 different cities on the Arabian Peninsula. They will travel from one end of the peninsula to the other end, and they will fear nothing but Allah. Because Islam will be what? Established. Yeah. There won't be no more persecution. There won't be no more pain and suffering at the hands of Quraysh. We'll be in charge. The deen of Allah. That's what he told him. That's the vision. And all through so he was down. They were being persecuted. He was being persecuted. But he gave them that vision, He gave them that hope. And throughout, again, in the Meccan phase, in the Medina phase, when they were under attack and they were down, and looked at the kuffar, adversity, was getting the uppermost, over them. The Prophet always give them the hope of, hey, victory, and we'll be on top, don't worry about it. But we got to go through what we got to go through. Do you think you're going to be tested? You think you're going to enter Allah's paradise without being tested? You see, so the trials of life, this is what comes, with success. The Prophet said, victory comes with patience. So success will come after going through what you got to go through. So we move on, okay? So his Lord responded to him and averted their plot from him. Indeed, he is the hearer and the knower. So Allah heard his dua. After becoming aware of their wives' infatuation with Yusuf, the aristocrats or the leaders of the city became concerned. It then occurred to them, after they had seen the signs of Yusuf's obvious innocence, that he, the Aziz, should certainly imprison him for a time. Cool the ladies out. That's what they had Mashur, that's what they decided. So in prison, Yusuf would be out of the way of any woman who desired him. They ain't got to see him and be tempted. He was like a menace to society, man. You so handsome. So we gotta put you out of sight. Everybody look at you and they know. Hey, that's what it appears to be. Especially the women of honor, the women, the elite women, or the upper middle class, or the rich, the sophisticated women, the wives of the elite. We can't have this, man. We put him away. This is embarrassing. Can you imagine? Okay. So they certainly prison for him, put him in prison for a time. So in prison, Yusuf would be out of the way of the women who desired him, and now all their wives were involved. Perhaps they reasoned that it was better to let an innocent person suffer than to tolerate this kind of disturbance in their households. So this is their reasoning. It was a case of Yusuf's interest versus their own. And because they did not want to prolong or expose the scandal that had now erupted among them, their interests prevailed over justice. Okay, alhamdulillah. Various commentaries have been put forward as to Yusuf's age at that time. He entered the prison, but none of them is authoritative, so there are different opinions. How it is supposed that he may have been around 20 or in his early 20s. He was still young. Okay? It is evident from the Quran, the Quranic account, that he was by now a prophet, for sure, receiving revelations and inspiration from his Lord. Perhaps these, together with the knowledge that some high destiny awaited him, revealed in his childhood the vision that revealed him in his childhood, and that the inspiration he had received in the well sustained and supported him through this new test. and he now began to carry out his divinely appointed mission inside the prison walls. Okay? So as he goes into the prison, again, what is being said here is that perhaps now him recollecting, the vision that he had when he was young, and his father, told him, okay, something great is in store for you, you see. And the voice that he heard when he was in the well, Allah, you will see your brothers another time when they won't know you. Those two situations kind of like, comforted him. SubhanAllah, Allah is with me. So I got to go into prison. Let me get busy with Allah's work. It's amazing. So when Yusuf gets out of the prison, why am I here? Why I got to go through this? Look at the patience of Yusuf. The patience of Yusuf. Okay? I'll stop there. It gets gooder and gooder. We'll pick up next week on his ordeal, because it's a beautiful dawah lesson for us.